I've been here when I was younger already, but not in the Viking village itself, but I've seen the beauty of the valley. I decided to just give it a try because I've been interested in the Vikings for years and years and years, and I knew I had to go here because I just remembered the beautiful valley, the massive mountains, and the view when, you know, any kind of weather is beautiful here.
Yeah.
You can have sunshine, it's beautiful. You can have rain and it will look beautiful, especially afterwards when you get the rainbow over there in the fjord. And when you have misty mornings, for example, with the clouds very low above the water, this is my favorite weather. It looks so beautiful. And the people here are all interested in the same things. They're all very welcoming people. The Norwegians in general are welcoming people. And it's just lovely to exist here. Everyone is nice. To work here is basically English. That's the
Speak English?
Speaking English, having some
basic
knowledge about the Vikings. They don't really need you to be a historian or crazy knowledgeable person because anyone can learn. And if you just have some basic interest plus some basic knowledge. But I do have officially one tiny tad of Scottish in my heritage. So I'm actually guessing that my ancestors might have been Vikings because many people in Scandinavia have a bit of English, Irish or Scottish heritage because the Vikings went to the monasteries and stole monks to be their slaves, and later on those slaves could buy their freedom, and thereby they had actual English people living here and later on having children with Scandinavians. So I'm guessing that maybe one of my ancestors was a Scottish slave.
How long have you been living this lifestyle for?
Since 2017 when we opened the village. When I stay here, I live in the textile house. That's where I was talking about needle binding and plant coloring. In the summer, it's like 50 to 70 people on the group. And then you have to yell like a crazy person to basically be heard.
Yeah.
Freya, the goddess of love and fertility, and her brother Frey, the god of virility and fertility. Every time I have small children on the store, I'm always tempted to say that he is the god of cranes. So I don't have to explain what this thing is.
I had heard about, they used to call, in '95 we had the Viking Club. It was kind of the only Viking group in Norway, and it was a bunch of old guys. But they did a lot of things right, and they sparked also a new interest in it, kind of. But without internet, or it's not, you can't find any adverts in the newspaper saying Vikings looking for more Vikings. So then when I came here to work in the hotel, you had the chieftain. I think he moved here in '95, and he had already then started small scale being a Viking, and he was selling souvenirs. And then he established himself here, and in 2002, I think, maybe he started hanging out on the field here. And he was good at gathering people. So, but for many years we were unorganized bunch of people who liked to drink in the weekends. We had some. We were shooting a bow and arrow without any targets, just to see how far you could shoot. Standing by the sea and shooting this way, so to pick up the arrows. When they landed on the main road, that's when we stopped. It's kind of, it was a little dangerous. Most people have this belief that the Vikings were just violent and rough and rugged, and but most of them were traders. They were trading fur, and I don't think they started out trading silver. I think they stole the silver first and then started using it for trading. But I have no interest in the fighting part. I did some fighting in the beginning, but For me, I'm more a trader. I like to trade in silver and gold, basically. That is what I prefer to do.
Right.
And of course, I'm interested in the weapons and the history, and I have most of the weapons myself. But it's you have a lot of people who just fighters. That's what they do. They go to markets and they fight, and they have fight shows, and they are like the warriors. You notice them in the party. They are always loud, but it's okay. And then you have people who are just into the crafts, that wants to tablet weave or needle bind or whatever. You have wood carvers, and this is also nice because it's like a community within a community. Everybody is doing their own thing.
Yeah.
Have you ended a life of an animal using that method?
Not throwing like this.
Okay.
But there was a sheep that met his end with the flat side of the axe.
Oh, really?
But that is not legal.
Nice to meet you. I'm carving a what we call a Gordy staff, which is a staff of the person who would be a spiritual leader, basically, and would lead ceremonies and sacrifices to the gods and things like that. So this one's going to have runes carved in it and lots of other different symbolisms carved throughout it.
Yeah.
Whereas one that I'm using for warfare would be very simple and basically not decorated hardly at all. You can see at the top end, I've done some burning to give it a little bit of extra symbolisms this
nice.
way.
Yeah.
And that I can do a little bit more often because it's not taking that much wood out.
Yeah.
In 2010, I organized an all-day night concert called Viking Rock. I had 8 bands from around Europe. I had Faun from Germany, and I had Tyr from the Faroe Islands, and I had 3 other groups from Norway, and 2 groups from Denmark.
You knew them personally, and then you just called them up and say,
Some of them I knew. I just called them and told them about my idea. I wanted to organize a rock concert. And we had a stage that later on was used for a big national competition in Oslo. The stage was, it was exactly the same size as this house.
yeah, when I saw your website and Einar performing, I think it was summertime, right? Where more people would
Yeah, it
come.
was at the market. He's been at the market long before Vardruna existed.
Okay.
And he used to come here with his family, just as a Viking. So since you heard about Einar and Vardruna, have you heard about a band called Heilung? Kai from Heilung. He never heard about Viking Age until he came here. And I traveled with him for 2 years. And Anders, he taught him to throat singing.
Who's your favorite artist, or what type of music do you love listening to?
Oh, that's interesting. I think my favorite artist is Mari Boine. Mari Boine. She's a Sami, but she's the Sami. And I'd say she's a shaman as well. People are spellbound by her.
So which one is your house again?
Well, I don't have a house at the moment.
Okay.
It used to be the Blood House, they call it.
The Blood House.
Yeah, it's the red one on the end.
Okay, I see it, yeah.
And it's called the Blood House because when I painted it, I made the paint with ox blood. I made it out of linseed oil, blood, eggs, and a tiny bit of tar. But the color is from blood.
Okay. Did you kill the ox?
No, I did not. I should have done it, and I should have eaten it too. I've heard many strange stories about that house. after I painted it, when people forgotten that I made the paint. Then
What
you
kind
can
of
get
stories?
stories about human blood and a lot of sacrifices went into that house. But it's funny when they tell me the story.
Speaking of which, do you sacrifice animals?
They
here?
do on occasion.
Yeah.
We have to be very careful about sacrificing living
Yeah.
animals. And what you would eat and what you would sacrifice traditionally is horse. And horse meat is also supposed to be eaten at the feast. But only the Christians, they when they Christian Norway, they got rid of the tradition of horse meat, eating horse meat. But this was very sacred. So sometimes I have some dried horse meat here. We are going to get to have one yield or one feast this summer at least. I know that we will have one with horse meat. We made sure of that.
Right.
People like to ride the horses, and when they die, they just don't want to know about them anymore.
Yeah.
But horse meat is actually very good. So,
You eat reindeer here?
yeah, I hunt reindeer in this mountain. But it's a really satisfying feeling when you go up in the mountain and you have to look for the reindeer. You have to hunt them.
Yeah.
Then you get one, and you take off the skin and take it apart and put it in your backpack. And you have to carry it down again.
Yeah.
And if you have 70 kilos in your backpack and 3 hours hike down,
Oh man.
and these are steep mountains,
Yeah.
you can feel it in the legs. Then it tastes so much better when you make it, the food. So I even attached the skull or the head on my backpack.
It's very controversial because many people, historians and people who are highly into Viking reenactment think it's not accurate at all.
Yeah.
I'm a bit torn because time-wise they have a couple of things in the timeline that is not lining up too well.
The clothes they're wearing is very, very raw. Leather armor is hardly ever used. We haven't found any evidence of leather armor from the Viking Age. If you have a leather hat, if you get an axe in your head, you will still be dead. It doesn't help you at all. But if you have a metal helmet, then you will still survive.
It's not overly off in my opinion because the costumes are not all the costumes are what we found in archaeology. But I'm always very open to whatever materials they had available. They could have made something from it. So it's kind of like the costumes in the Vikings is a bit off from what we have found from the Viking Age, but in theory they could have made it. So I'm very open to new ideas in this kind of sense. So I did like the series a lot. I loved the storytelling. I loved the sagas they involved.
Yeah.
The saga about Ragnar Lothbrok is very, very cool, very famous saga. So I love it. I really liked it.
So the character like Ragnar Lothbrok is maybe most likely is made out of 3 different historical characters. In the show they say that Ragnar Lothbrok is besieging Paris in 845, but it was another guy called Reginus or something. They have a lot of historical events and historical names and historical places, and put them in a big hat and shake it around a little bit and make a new story out of it.
So you can say about it whatever you want because it's not 100% historically accurate.
Right.
But still, it is a nice story, basically. It's not supposed to be 100% accurate. That's the thing.
What is this instrument called again?
Tromme. He doesn't like me playing too much because he tries to speak.
Right.
Behind this mountain is one of the most beautiful valleys in Norway, actually, and there's no houses or nothing. It's just this smooth, really nice valley, and you can walk several kilometers in there without feeling that you walk uphill. And then it's just a little climb, and then you come to the peak of this mountain. It kind of ends out there, and you can stand on 1,200 meters and look down on the fjord. It's really nice. And so halfway up the valley, there is a road going up there.
Yeah.
And it used to be a horrible tunnel. But then they made a new one, and it has two of these 360-degree turns to climb.
Yeah.
And you come up and it's a totally different landscape. And then you can drive quite far and quite higher into the mountains. Not at the moment
Well.
because of snow. But, in the summer you can do that.